Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software, DudeInIT.com, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. Gal is vacationing. Spence is vacationing. So it's just Nick and little old me.
I am also vacationing.
We're all vacationing. Okay.
Yeah, I live my life. My whole life's a vacation. living the vacation life each and every day.
So let's talk just for a couple of minutes about last Tuesday. You worked hard to achieve what a lot of people achieved. Looks like the Republicans really were successful this time around.
You know, here's the thing. This isn't even a Republican or Democrat thing. The lack of, and this is just speaking from an overarching thing here.
Yeah.
And I've been accused before on my radio show of being in an ivory tower, and I don't want to come off like that. But the lack of interest, the lack of knowledge about municipal elections and local elections is astonishing to me. Voter turnout for those is typically less than 25%.
And what was it this time?
Less than 25%.
Oh.
Nobody votes. And that's a real, you know, I have to often remind myself and my cohorts that are political, you know, we're weird. You know, we're not normal. We're hyper invested in this. I mean, I do a 3-hour-a-day radio show. I mean, I'm to borrow a term from previous years, I'm against the norm. But the fact that there is no knowledge, there's no interest at all in local elections or anything like that is really a shame. So I encourage you, I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum, as far left, far right, it doesn't matter. But start getting involved in local stuff. I prefer you to be on the
on the right.
Yeah, I prefer for you to be on the more conservative side of it, but even if you're not, being informed and being involved is so incredibly important, and unfortunately so many folks are not. So
and most folks complain later on. Oh, look what they did here and look what they did there. And but it's the pendulum. It's going back and forth, and we'll see what happens in 2 years. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely an interesting week politically.
Yeah,
and lots of good content for the radio show. No question about it.
Yeah, it gives you a lot to talk about.
It absolutely does.
Yeah. Good. I know, many of you Nick was not on every show in the last few months, and it's because he's involved in his local community. And doing a fine job, if I may say so.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yep. All right.
Well, before we start,
yeah,
I'm going to continue to stress and advocate the point. Some people are starting to get the Windows 11 prompt within the Windows 10 updater.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a friend of mine post on Facebook this past week, hey, I got this pop up. I got this prompt. Has anybody run it? Has anybody ran it? What do you think? I did the OS came out on a Monday or a Tuesday. I did the upgrade on a Wednesday after infection, and I don't have an incredibly complex setup, but I've got some weird not weird software. I've got a lot of pieces of software that talk and work together. I've got virtual audio, I've got MIDI controllers. I've got a little bit of a substandard setup, and still to this day I have not had any problems. The only issue I've had, and I think it was a USB power issue, is I tried charging my iPhone through a USB hub and it blue screened my computer. I don't believe that was Windows 11 related. I think that was just power related. I'm not sure why I decided to plug it into my hub like an idiot. But I'm pretty sure that was it. But other than that, no crashes, no compatibility issues, nothing else. So if you get that prompt and your computer is in fact TPM 2.0 compatible
enabled,
which did I mention last week that little crappy Lenovo laptop I have is compatible? I think I did.
Yes, and Spence was saying that his older, I don't know how many years, also is compatible. So
yeah. So if you get the prompt in Windows 10 to do the upgrade, I don't see why you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, that means that it went through. And there was a story last week that Microsoft actually forced install PC Health.
I'm sure the most recent Windows 10 update probably did install the PC Health checker.
Yeah, and
but if you see the pop up in Windows 11, if you see the pop up to install Windows 10, if you see the pop up to install Windows 11 in the Windows 10 updater, I would recommend you do it. Just give yourself about an hour, maybe 2, depending on how quick your computer is to do the upgrade, and I would be shocked to find that you had any issues. Again, it is the Windows 10 core with a lot of really nice UI changes, things that, the just icons and things that have been, and you might not think, Nick, icons, who cares? It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But when you're looking at, the control panel icon, for example, that's practically been the same for what, 25 years, go all the way back to Windows 95.
Mm-hmm.
This is, let's look at what Microsoft's competition is. Apple. And I'm not, even contrary to what you may see behind me, this lovely iMac that Mr. Amnon gave me that I use very sparingly. OS X is a beautiful operating system.
Don't update that computer.
I don't know if
two-month array, whatever is the
I
latest.
Can't update it to anything. Okay. Don't you remember when we updated it? We had to use some like weird patcher to get it because it's so far out of date. We had to use some like weird bootloader patcher thing. But
anyway,
OS X is a very pretty operating system. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and obviously productivity is important as well. But I really, really like the look of Windows 11. I like the modern look of the UI. I like the modern icons. It just feels like an operating system that realistically Windows 10 probably should have been in terms of how things look. And I'm glad that they've done this upgrade. I really like it.
Well,
I said the same thing about 10.
I didn't see it yet, so
I mean, and you won't know. I mean, outside of and that's the nice thing about it is outside, from 7 to 8,
mm-hmm.
big, literally night and day. Like your computer was almost unusable with Windows 8 because of that stupid ass tiles menu that they thought was a good idea. 7 to 10 is a big upgrade. It looks a lot different. 10 to 11 is a far less upgrade in terms of where things are and how things look than 7 to 10 was.
So navigation is almost the same. It's just
navigation is completely the same. The only thing that's different, and I'm glad it's different, and I mentioned this last week, is they've changed the start button, which I think looks. I think the start button makes a lot more sense now. The things that are in there, you can still get to your whole program list and all that, but honestly, no, most people are not scrolling through the all apps and the all program list in your start menu. I mean, if you use a program, you're either going to type in the name, have it pinned to the start button, or have it on your desktop. And the way that they've done that, the settings menu is phenomenal. Everything, almost everything that you could need is in the settings menu. Very little work in control panel. And the big thing for me is you can now change network settings, set static IPs, and do all of that stuff directly in the Windows settings menu instead of having to go to control panel, which is what you had to do in the past.
Right.
So I'll stand by the fact that I am a very big fan of Windows 11, and I've had no issues with it at all.
All right. That's good to know.
I will continue to encourage every week until I run into an issue, and then we'll talk about it.
Well, then they'll fix it. I mean, it's
that's fine. The thing is, it's. I'm sure you can find I'm sure you might. I don't know. Do you have any stories of any big Windows? I don't think the user base is big enough yet. I mean, most people are not using it, so big widespread issues. I'm not sure you'll see.
I mean, there were some problems with Windows 11, and Microsoft fixed them right away. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't anything serious, but there is a problem with the new Intel chip.
You're talking about the new 12th gen chips that they just announced?
The 12900, the Core i9 12900.
That's a brand new chip, literally announced this week. Yeah, and it's a Ryzen killer.
Well,
spec-wise.
Not so much.
Okay.
So the first story is Intel has posted the release that the hybrid CPU core architecture on Elder Lake, which is the Core i9, can be incompatible with certain games, specifically some protected by anti-piracy DRM software from Lenovo. This was confirmed in a review of the Core i9 12900K when PC Mag tried to run the hit AAA Ubisoft title Assassin's Creed. Valhalla, part of our processor benchmark suite. The game would crash halfway through the test run or simply not boot in at all. The errors occur because Lenovo's DRM software will mistakenly think the so-called performance core and efficiency cores, P cores and E cores, on the chip belong to two separate PCs. So it thinks that you're running it on two PCs.
Well, the good news is Lenovo will be able to update their anti-cheat software to deal with that. Right. One of the other things that's a little controversial with the what's the name of the architecture? You just said
it. Elder Lake.
Elder Lake, which is your 12th gen. Is their Intel's spec when they released their benchmarks and compared it to AMD Ryzen, they were using a build of Windows 11 an early build of Windows 11 that was known to have AMD performance issues before Microsoft fixed them.
Exactly.
So the specs look apples to apples. You're like, damn, Intel's blowing these things out of the water, but that's first of all, very good marketing by Intel, a very good job to do that. That's very smart on their side. It's very misleading also. It's incredibly misleading. But that might be something to look at. But I haven't watched any videos on the 12th gen chips yet. I had a couple of them in my queue to watch. I just haven't gotten to them yet. But from everything I've read, this seems to be Intel's stab back at AMD, who with the Ryzen second and third and or third and fourth gen, I don't know what gen Ryzen's run, third and fourth maybe. are really kicking Intel's ass. I mean, it's not even close. The Ryzen chips are phenomenal.
Well, the article goes that it turns out that Intel allowed the Core i9, their new chip, to consume 2.4 times the power of its AMD competitor. And
that might have a bit of a difference too.
and benchmarked the Ryzen 9 5950X using an older version of Windows 11 with AMD performance issues.
Yeah.
So it's two reasons why it was like that. So it may not be so
well, and here's the best thing about that though. YouTube and technology YouTubers that will actually physically benchmark these chips, those Intel specs are great for. Here's the thing: if you're going to buying most people aren't buying a processor. Let's be honest. But if you're doing research on a processor, you might watch a YouTube video, and those Intel specs are great. But if you watch an actual real life side, which I will admit I have not watched yet, those. The YouTubers will be running the latest version of Windows 11 and will, have it set up in a test bench environment in which they're apples to apples comparisons. And then I think you will see that the performance difference is not all that much. But this is Intel's attempt to try and pull back some of that market share that AMD has been stealing for the past couple of years. And until I see these things in the wild and hear people talking about them, I still would get an AMD Ryzen.
Yeah, I mean Ryzen.
I have no reason not to.
AMD got to where they are not by pulling tricks, but by actually giving you a good product, something you could use and see. It wasn't just a lot of talk, so that's why they're there now, to come and try and reverse it by misleading. That's bad, but it'll come out.
Yeah, but it's marketing. I mean, and that's what marketing is all about trying to. And here's the thing: it's not like they're lying. They're just using a non-ideal build of Windows 11 that has an issue. They're not fake specs. They are real. They are real benchmarks, but they're not the most trustworthy benchmarks. Maybe that's the word to use.
Okay.
They willingly used a version of Windows that had AMD performance issues. And maybe what that goes to show you more than anything else is that maybe these chips really aren't that much better than the AMD Ryzen if the fact is that they have to use a known build of Windows 11 that does not favor AMD. Because if you truly look at it, when the Ryzen first gen Ryzen was all right, second, third, and fourth gen Ryzen were good. Really good. Third and fourth were phenomenal. They didn't need to fudge the numbers or play any sort of weird games. Intel had, for all intents and purposes, since Skylake or whatever it would have been, 6th or 7th gen I series, the 6700 or the 7700, had essentially stopped innovating. They were not bringing down the chips were not getting any smaller. They were not the core counts and the threads, the TPO, the power consumption. None of that stuff was getting hardly any better. Very, very minute and small updates from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th generation. And that's when AMD was able to come in and eat their lunch.
Yep.
And they're reaping the benefits of it right now.
And they should, and they deserve it.
Yeah, because on the flip side, and you'll have to correct me you'll have to help me out on this, Amnon. You go back to the 90s, right? AMD had some really good chips in the 90s.
Right.
And then with the Intel Pentium came out, the MMX Pentiums, and AMD didn't have an answer.
Right.
And for, they did their Athlon series and all that. Their FX series was dog crap. Those chips were terrible.
Yep.
Terrible power consumption, hot, shitty performance, terrible chips. The FX line sucked. And Intel got very complacent. AMD came in and stole it, which is great because at the end of the day, we get better chips, cheaper prices. It's a win-win. Capitalism wins again. What can I say?
Yeah, the end user is always the winner from all these situations. So
I'll be
Don't
curious to see the real world of these new Intel chips in comparison to the AMD series. I'm still very happy with my AMD chip.
Yeah, and you probably will stay happy. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not like,
I have no
okay,
reason to
so
change.
yeah.
I've got a Ryzen 9 30. I have a third gen, a Ryzen 9 3900X 12 core at 3.79 gigahertz. And I've had this computer for going on 2 years now. I think I built it right before the pandemic, I think.
Yeah, and you don't just do Microsoft Office on it. You do a
No,
lot of
that
stuff.
is a fact.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I
Still
mean,
I'm still want a new video card. Still looking for one of those at some point or another.
one of these
That's the only
days.
thing.
Yeah.
That's the
One.
only thing that's getting a bit old.
There was another story about Windows 11, but I think
Mm,
it's been fixed. It says that
okay.
Microsoft has started warning Windows 11 users that certain feature in the operating system are failing due to an expired certificate. The certificate expired on October 31st, and Microsoft warns that some Windows 11 users aren't able to open apps like the snipping tools, touch keyboard, or emoji panel. A
Oh no.
patch is available to fix some of the issues, but it's currently in preview, meaning you have to install it manually from Windows Updates. The patch KB 46746 will fix the touch keyboard, voice typing, emoji panel, and issues with the getting started and tips section of Windows 11. You'll be able to find this patch by checking for updates in the Windows Update section of Settings in Windows 11. Microsoft's patch doesn't address the problem with the snipping tool app, though. To mitigate the issue with snipping tool, use the print. If people like to use the snipping tool, use the print screen key on your keyboard and paste the screenshot into your document. That's what Microsoft recommends. You can also paste it into Paint to select and copy the section you want.
Can I
So,
make a recommendation?
yes, absolutely.
Stop using the snipping tool and stop using print screen as a whole and download Sharex. We've talked about it before. That is a phenomenal piece of software. It takes over the Windows 10. So if I press Control
Control
print
print
screen,
screen. Yeah.
Sharex takes over. It's a free software, open source software, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. You can draw before you do your snip. So instead of having to,
Can you crop?
if you want to just,
Can you?
you can do anything. Well,
Okay.
so when you do it, when I can't really show it,
No,
it
no,
will,
it's fine. But can you
it'll
crop
take over.
what you?
Yeah, you literally drag. It's a
Okay.
crosshair. You
Okay.
drag. So what you it's cool. You can draw things on the screen and then do a regional selection or full screen selection. You can capture video. You can capture GIFs. ShareX is a really, really good piece of software. If you do a lot of
Sharex.
screenshotting, yeah, I threw the link. It's getsharex.com. It takes over the control print screen. Phenomenal application. You can even set it to automatically upload pictures to Dropbox or Google Drive. I've got mine just saved locally. You can set it up so that when you take a picture, you do a screenshot, it automatically copies it to your clipboard, so you can paste it directly to a program or a website or a chat message or something like that. I'm a big, big fan of ShareX. I install it on every computer.
All right.
Great little app, free too, and open source.
And talk about free programs. Again, I just came across something called tweaking.com.
I've never heard of that. I've heard of tweakers on the side of the road begging for money. I've
No,
never heard of
tweaking.com. And you can tweak the operating system.
okay.
It's for tweaking Windows, and it looks like it really is a nice program, and it's free for personal use. And it's at tweaking.com. If you need to do that, It's there.
Hmm.
All right. Now,
I got a couple things.
do I?
I said, I got a couple things, or do you want to lead us? Either or.
I mean, I still have something here.
Oh, sure.
Yahoo.
Damn it. That's what I
Yeah.
was going to talk about.
You are? Okay.
No, that was going to be my story.
You mean about China?
Yep.
Yeah, I can just read it. If you can talk
Yeah,
about it, I'd rather you talk about it.
Go ahead and read. Go do this. Go ahead and set it up. I'm going to go fill up my coffee cup, and then I'll discuss it.
Okay. So Yahoo has officially exited China, shutting down all of its services in the communist country as of Monday, November 1st. In recognition of the increasingly challenging business and legal environment in China, Yahoo's suite of services will no longer be accessible from mainland China as of November 1st. That's what a company spokesperson said in an emailed statement. Yahoo remains committed to the rights of our users and a free and open internet. We thank our users for their support. The rep added, now Yahoo exit from China coincided with the enactment of the country's personal information protection law. Like the same thing, like I guess GDPR that they have in Europe. But I guess Yahoo said, no, we can't really comply with that. And it's weird because they say remain committed to the rights of our users and a free internet. Well, if you are committed to that, then comply with that and stay there. But that's Yahoo.
Well, here's the thing. You're going to see more and more of this.
All right.
You are absolutely going to see more and more of this. China's business climate right now, and this is, I'll get a little political with it. China. It's
all political.
Yeah, no, but this part of it is China's economy is about to crash. Their real estate market they've had some big companies in China that have, the biggest real estate company in China has missed one, if not two, debt payments. And the Chinese economy is about to tailspin out of control. And not that has something to do with this story as a whole, but I think it was very lucrative to do business in China.
For a lot of companies.
For a lot of companies, very, very lucrative. But I think you're going to start seeing if in fact there is a big issue with the Chinese economy, which I think there will be. I have a suspicion you will see more and more of this. Yahoo is a large company. We don't use Yahoo, right? I mean, I don't know anybody that uses Yahoo, but Yahoo is a very large company. I mean, their revenue in 2016 was $5.5 billion. That is not a small company by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
And for them to pull out of the Chinese market and essentially exit the country, that's interesting because LinkedIn announced the same thing last month. I don't know if we covered it on the show.
We did
but
not.
LinkedIn said, hey, we're done. We're out. And that's a Microsoft company. They said, we're done. We're done with China. We're pulling the plug. We're wrapping up shop and we're getting out. So I think you are going to see more and more of this because of regulation in China, some of the nonsense going on politically. And if they do, in fact, have a big economic issue, which I'm convinced they will, then it's just going to I think it'll make a lot more sense for these companies to dip.
Well,
it's just not worth doing business anymore.
It's not. But
it's just not. It's not worth doing business. And eventually, these companies like Yahoo, Yahoo and Microsoft, two of the largest technology companies in the world. Microsoft decided it with LinkedIn. Yahoo's deciding it with all of their brands. That's a big deal. That's gotta have the Chinese technology field scratching their head and saying, "Hmm,
But
this is not good."
yeah, and they caused it, and it looked like in the last few months that they were trying to create a situation where it will not be nice for these companies to operate there. It's
When they
like
don't
they were
need them,
trying to kick them out, but
which they might very well try to be doing because there are all of these Chinese technology companies. What's the big Google over there? QQ and all of these these massive companies. It there's and those are China. Those are Chinese owned companies, at least partially owned by the government in China. So maybe they'll just bail out. I mean, it's
Eleanor,
obviously something is showing a red flag for them.
you see what Eleanor is saying in the chat?
Yeah, go ahead and read it out.
Is she uses Yahoo, and Yahoo has been slowly exiting since 2013. Some of it was because of China shutting parts of them down.
Mhm.
Some is Yahoo not wanting to be censored. Every company now is censored in China. Always have been, and even if they didn't know, it's always like that. That's China. Yeah,
Jada.
yeah, China. So, Nick, help me with this here, which I don't understand exactly. Amazon is next on the list of companies getting into the live audio game.
Okay.
The company is building a new app codenamed Project Mike
Oh,
that gives anyone the ability to make and distribute a live radio show, complete with music, according to a presentation viewed by The Verge. This project big goal is to democratize and reinvent the radio. The app will be focused on the US initially. Listeners will be able to tune in through the app as well as through Audible, Amazon Music, Twitch, and Alexa equipped devices. With the Alexa devices, listeners will be able to interact with shows using their voice. The app
it's Clubhouse.
is that what it is?
It
Is that what it was? I
that's
know.
kind of what that's kind
Uh,
of what you're describing is part of what Clubhouse is, which is which is essentially like a kind of like an IRC chat room of the
uh-huh.
old days,
Yeah.
but all audio based. Which,
Oh,
by the way, has kind of petered out, at least in I
yeah.
used it a little bit when it first came out because it was kind of neat, but it's kind of what it comes down to is how much free time do you have to sit there and just shoot the breeze with people.
Now it says that the app experience will also be optimized for the car, playing into
That's big.
Amazon's idea for trying to reinvent radio. A mock up app image viewed by The Verge depicts a screen listing shows that are currently live. Trending topics like NBA, Hot 100, and featured creators. Users will also be able to search for content by topic, name, or music. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, so here, how many more accidents are we going to have on the road? I mean, now you have to look at the screen and,
No,
I
it's
mean, yeah,
audio. You join a chat room or whatever, and you just drive.
yeah, but I
It's not,
mean,
it's not
searching
video.
and finding and all that. I mean, you should do it when you stop. Like
Yeah, well, yeah. But I mean,
if you go with what is that GPS program? Google, um,
Waze.
Waze. I mean, if you start it when you're driving, it tells you you need to do this when you're stopped.
Yeah, and then you click the button that says "I'm a passenger" and continue
Yeah,
driving.
right. But no, well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can make it drink. Come on.
Yeah, well, that's liability for them.
Well, so to revive the radio, Now,
Yeah,
you've
I don't
been
know.
you've been in the radio now for the last few
4
years.
years? Yeah.
I know in the beginning we were saying, "Oh yeah, radio is dying. Radio is dying." Everybody in the podcasting, broadcasting on the internet was saying that, but that doesn't look like it, does it?
Well, it doesn't. I think the old style of radio is in fact dying. And I think
What is the old style? Explain
old
old.
style of radio is how radio stations were programmed with music and things of that nature in days past.
Okay.
And you just had and as, before my time, but you go back 20 plus years. I
Mhm.
mean, go from the 60s to the 90s in radio, and there was a certain way that you did radio. That was just that was the format. That was radio. There was just a certain way that you did it. And you're starting to see that radio stations are having to adapt to streaming technologies. But I mean, I can't imagine that this Amazon app is going to quote change radio any more than Spotify or Pandora or Sirius XM have. And those have done a whole hell of a lot more to change radio than anything else. At least
Yeah. I don't know. I
they're trying to
mean,
jump in on they're trying to jump in on what Clubhouse was, and I just
okay, so that's what. Okay.
yeah, which is the same thing as Blab and all these other groups where you've got a bunch of these
Oh yeah. Okay. Now
snake oil salesmen with their BS that they're trying to sell and all of this and it, it is what it is. You've got just got people that have got a bunch of free time or work a job where they're in marketing or something like that where they've got a very flexible schedule. I just am not sure. Now, what one thing I've always been kind of interested in is, podcasting. We talk about that a lot. There's very few live podcasts.
Right.
So maybe that's a market that somebody could get in. But I think what you really need is, and unfortunately, the podcasts as they are right now, the protocol, the RSS protocol, the really simple syndication, does not make live a possibility. So you would need an app like Spotify that's using podcasting, or Apple that's got their big podcasting app to incorporate some sort of live functionality into it. But I'm not sure a whole separate app, especially an Amazon app, is going to be able to change that.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's I
Day
didn't.
late and a dollar short. It's not. I mean, the thing. It's not. There's not even any announcement of when this thing is going to be out.
No, and they only show a mock.
Yeah, mock meaning you're
Yeah.
a year away.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, there was something, yeah, about writing an app and all that. There was something going on with that Truth network with Trump.
Social.
Yeah. What was I couldn't find any information. What was the end of it? I mean, Mastodon.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Truth forked Mastodon and then did something, and then the Mastodon people got all pissed off. I don't know. There's
So
too
okay,
many of these
all right.
sites.
No, never mind.
Who knows?
Okay,
I'm
so
kind of.
go ahead.
I think you're starting to see a kind of a not a decline. Well, I think no. I think you are seeing a decline in social media. There's just too much of it. You've got all these different apps and services,
There's
and they're
nothing.
all
Nothing.
secluded and all have their own little silo of people. It's just too much.
Yep. All right, so you want cryptocurrency?
I mean, I don't, but we can talk about it.
Well, MasterCard is making it easier for banks to offer cryptocurrency rewards on their credit card and debit card as part of the payment network recent embrace of digital currencies. pull it off, Mastercard has inked a deal with Bakkt, BAKKT, the cryptocurrencies firm that spun off from Intercontinental Exchange earlier this year. As part of the change, Mastercard would also make it easier for consumers to spend the cryptocurrency rewards they earn at the millions of retailers on the firm's network. Together with Bakkt and grounded by our principled approach to innovation, will not only empower our partners to offer a dynamic mix of digital assets options, but also deliver differentiated and relevant consumer experience. That's coming from Sherry Heyman, which is the Executive Vice President of Digital Partnership at MasterCard. So you may be able to tell your MasterCard reward company, hey, I want my rewards in cryptocurrency, not in dollars and cents.
This is why cryptocurrency is over, and I've liquidated all of my assets.
The what?
I said, this is why cryptocurrency is over and why I have liquidated all of my assets. I sold probably $2,500 worth of cryptocurrency over the past couple of weeks. Cryptocurrency was not supposed to ever be an alternative to cash.
To money.
It was supposed to, it was not supposed to be an alternative to money. It was supposed to be another form of transferring goods and services.
Right.
And now that there's exchange traded funds, there's Bitcoin ETFs, and there's MasterCard offering cryptocurrency. That is precisely why, that is exactly what cryptocurrency was made to get away from, was from these legacy, that's not why it was made, but a lot of the adoption was to get away from these traditional financial ways of doing things. And when you've got MasterCard jumping in and trying to do this, when you've got a Bitcoin ETF, which is now, then this is big. Let me explain this. An ETF on the stock market that you trade through a brokerage account with regular dollars and cents, USD. Think about that. You now have US dollar people trading in USD on a stock exchange, manipulating the price of a cryptocurrency. Think about that. That is precisely that is precisely what cryptocurrency was meant to not do. Was not be involved with. It was supposed to be a whole separate currency, not a way to trade US dollar, which is what it's become.
Right. It was something to do it without
having to deal with traditional banking.
Yeah, right.
Big banks, MasterCard, Visa, Amex. And now you've got banks jumping in on it. You've got a literal, I mean, I want to say the Bitcoin.
I went to the station.
Yeah, there's literally a Bitcoin fund. That is a huge problem. That is a stock market traded asset that can manipulate the price of a cryptocurrency. That is so counterintuitive to what Bitcoin was supposed to be, which was a decentralized currency. It is centralized for all intents and purposes when people that are not even trading in it, right? Because that's the thing, is if the way that the price of Bitcoin gets manipulated right now is people trade in Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. But when you can trade US dollar in the stock market and affect the price of a cryptocurrency, what the hell's the crypto? It's US dollar. It's all, for all intents and purposes, it's just USD. Totally useless.
That's an interesting way to look at it. All right.
Now, I'm either going to be really, really right or kicking myself in the ass in a couple of years. And at this point, I have no reason to believe that, especially with some of the economic issues that we're dealing with right now, that the cryptocurrency market is not going to continue to be at its levels. And that's why I sold my Bitcoin at about 65,000. Obviously, I didn't have a full coin. I didn't have anywhere near a full coin. But when times get tough, when if in fact there's some sort of recession or something of that nature, the first thing that you're going to see drop in value is something that's got no monetary value at all, which is cryptocurrency. And then when you've got the stock market manipulating the prices, it's just wrap it up, folks. Let's get it. We need something new because it didn't work.
It blew my mind. I needed some non-ethanol gasoline, and you don't find it everywhere. Mm-hmm. So there is a station down the street here on Jones Franklin, and I went in, and you have to pay the attendant. And I'm going in, and there was like 2 or 3 people in front of me, and you look around, and there's a machine there to convert.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
To buy cryptocurrency. I said, what in the hell?
Yeah, there's one at the Circle. Almost every Circle K I've been into has one.
Interesting.
I'm not very. This is not financial advice. Let me prerequisite that. I am just not. You are seeing cryptocurrency, and I don't want to sound rude or arrogant, but you're seeing cryptocurrency being adopted and being talked about by people that should not be talking about it. When you've got the stock market trading a Bitcoin ETF, that is precisely what you do not want for a decentralized currency. That is not good at all.
Well, like you said, I guess time will tell what's going to happen with it. Maybe somebody will come with something new.
Well, and it's going to come down to there might be just a big crash and everybody backs off, and then maybe it'll come back up. But as of right now, Bitcoin's trading at about $62,000 a coin.
Amazing.
But any sort of serious financial issue, like any sort of economic decline, I don't see how cryptocurrency holds its value. Because that's the first. People are going to need money.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to need cash, US dollar. And what is the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to liquidate your cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not
going to be
a
rush to liquidate.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling you what to do, but if you've got a lot of money in cryptocurrency, I would at least liquidate some of it into dollars.
Yep. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, they say.
Yeah. And again, I could be totally wrong. Bitcoin could hit $1 million. I don't foresee that happening. It just seems it's too mainstream. It's way too mainstream. And by definition, it should not. And I've mentioned this before, and I think we talked about this probably 6 months ago. Whenever anybody talks about Bitcoin, when anybody ever talks about Ethereum or Litecoin or any of these, what do they talk about? How much it's worth in US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for all intents and purposes just a means of converting dollars, which is not, it was supposed to be its own currency, its own separate thing. But all we do is talk about it in terms of how much USD is it worth, which means it's not really a currency. It's just a way of shifting around dollars.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Maybe
it's not a currency.
To look at it. Yeah.
You trade a currency as a currency. Gold is a currency, right? You can trade gold.
Yeah,
but you trade it by weight. You can trade it by. Now I know now you buy gold with US dollar, but you could trade gold, and in years past, ounces of gold were worth product. Traded for horses, livestock, food. That was a thing that you did. That was a currency, a physical currency that you would trade. I have not seen any example of where Bitcoin is the big one has actually been used as a currency and not a means to just jump back and forth between US dollar and make a quick buck, which is good. I mean, I made a fortune on it. But it's at the end of the day, what did I do? Brought it back into USD. So it's not really a currency. It's no different than trading in the stock market, in my humble opinion.
People want to play Monopoly, and they don't play board games anymore, so they.
Oh yeah, and again, very lucrative. You can. I mean, I probably bought $300 or $400 worth of cryptocurrency total over a couple of years, and I'd say I got, I don't know, probably about 2,500, maybe $3,000 worth out over time. It's a pretty good investment.
Yeah.
But I never did anything with the cryptocurrency, right? It was supposed to be its own currency. What did I do? Held it till it got to a certain point and then traded it back to cash.
What's the difference between that and any common stock?
It's not. That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. So I'm hope maybe at some point things will change. Maybe at some point people will adopt cryptocurrency and use it as a currency and use it as it was actually intended to be used. But everything that I've seen thus far, I don't see anybody trading cryptocurrency as cryptocurrency. I see them jumping back and forth and making green dollars with it, which is not really a longevity thing in my opinion.
Mm. Well, okay. That's good good information.
Gall is here.
What in the world?
Hey guys. From sunny Santa Fe.
Well, look at you.
Just wanted to drop in, say hi.
Hi. Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, yes.
Good.
What did I miss?
Nah, I think we were talking about cryptocurrency.
I don't believe in it.
There we go. See? Look at that. He didn't even hear the conversation and we lined right up. Exactly.
So
I'm going to drop off.
We're
heading to the airport soon. So, but
you what?
We're heading to the airport soon. So,
are you coming back?
Yeah, it's our last day. We've been here 3 days now.
Oh, I thought you were gone for 2 weeks.
I tried.
All right. Well, have a safe flight back.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you later,
Say
Gall.
hi to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.
Yeah, that's good information, and hopefully
I'm not an expert in it.
I understand, but it's something that you take. Anybody who's into it can take your experience and put it there, and you have to make your own decision what you're going to do with your assets. So this is just another cog in the machine. Says, okay, that's.
I'm not an economist, and I don't follow this stuff as closely as I'd like to. I might, now that the political thing is over, I might start following this stuff a little bit closer. Again, concept phenomenal. The way that it's been implemented and used, and the way that it's being done, it's just not. I don't think that this is what it was intended to be. Plain and simple.
Yeah, when you started, you didn't think that route at all. You didn't even consider that. You
people.
Just,
I mean, well, you had guys buying products and services with cryptocurrency, and we've seen retailers. What Dell, you can buy stuff. Nobody's doing that.
Well, I mean, you still use cryptocurrency to pay for stuff.
Who is? I've never used a cryptocurrency to pay for anything.
People that hold you for ransom.
Yeah, it's a great way. That's a good point. It's great for ransom. Yeah. But I just have, I know a whole bunch of people that are all into this stuff, and it's like, well, what do you do with your cryptocurrency? Well, I hold it.
Yeah, that's what.
And it's like, do. Well, okay, so then it's the stock. It's essentially a branch of the stock market.
Yeah,
it's exactly what you do with a stock. You hold it or sell it.
Right.
No, I don't know.
All right.
I just got to, that's my 2 cents on it. More hard-hitting financial advice from Computers 2K now.
Remember the SolarWinds fiasco?
Mm-hmm.
The SolarWinds investors have sued the software company's directors, alleging they knew about and failed to monitor cybersecurity risks to the company ahead of a breach that created a vulnerability in thousands of its customers' systems. That's coming from Reuters. The lawsuit filed in Delaware on Thursday appeared to be the first based on records shareholders demanded from the company after Reuters report last December that malicious code inserted into one of the company's software updates left U.S. government agencies and companies exposed. The lawsuit names a mix of current and former directors as defendants. Led by Missouri Pension Fund, the investors allege that the board failed to implement procedures to monitor cybersecurity risks, such as requiring the company's management to report on those risks regularly. They are seeking damages on behalf of the company and to reform the company's policies on cybersecurity oversight. So the lawsuit here is really to their investors in SolarWinds. So they want the company to get back to where they were. So
Wait, the investors are suing them? Is that what you said?
yeah, the investors.
Well, good.
Yeah. Their own investors are suing the directors. Yeah, because
of course, because they're investors in the company and the directors screwed it up.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. But there are still a lot of companies out there that are suffering because of that breach. Let's see what else we have here. There was something interesting here. We're talking about crypto. Kroger said a press
the grocery
release.
Store?
What?
The grocery store?
The grocery store.
Okay.
They said the press release announcing plans to begin accepting Bitcoin Cash was fraudulent, marking the latest apparent scam tying a major retailer to cryptocurrency. The statement appeared early Friday on PR Newswire, a service used by many large companies to make official announcements. Kroger's investor relation website automatically picked up the release, the grocer said. Media organizations, including Bloomberg News, published the information, and Bitcoin Cash briefly spiked above 5%.
Of course.
This communication was fraudulent and is unfounded and should be disregarded, Kroger said. The episode recalled a similar scam less than 2 months ago involving Walmart. In that situation, a fake statement went out on a separate wire service, Globe Newswire, saying the retail giant would begin accepting the cryptocurrency Litecoin. The fake news release set off a short-lived surge of more than 30% in Litecoin before Walmart said the information was false and the statement was taken down. So it's so easy to manipulate it. But I mean, obviously somebody who knows what they're doing did this, because to get stories into PR Newswire, that's not you can't just send an email and it's up there.
Apparently you can.
Obviously now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can.
But yeah. So who knows how many people sold it right after the 30% spike and sell it and then it goes down. Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, here we're going into something that you are into gaming.
Hmm.
According to Nikkei Asian Review, Nintendo will only be able to produce about 24 million units of its popular Switch game console in the fiscal year through March, 20% below an original plan.
Damn.
Its production has been held up by shortages of semiconductors and other electronic parts amid strong demand for Switch, including for its latest version released on October 8th. Nintendo trouble is a reminder of the far reaching impact of the global supply crunch that has crunch that has affected a wide range of industries from autos to electronics to machinery. So, I mean, this Christmas is going to be bad for people who are, or for parents and for people who likes gaming. It seems like it's not only Nintendo; it's a lot of other things that are involved in PCs and consoles, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Not surprising.
Well, um, Netflix, the video streaming giant, begin its expected foray into video games with the introduction of 5 mobile games to its users worldwide, playable initially on Android devices.
Yep.
Oh, so you know about that? You
No, a little. Yeah, they've been doing this for a little while. It's a little. It's not misleading. It's not confusing. Well, no, excuse me. It's not misleading, but it is a little confusing.
okay?
They're they're not they're not necessarily traditional video games. They're more of like, like the old action adventure games you play on a computer
Right.
where you kind of like click and do stuff. They're more like that than they are traditional video games because you're streaming. So it's a little weird.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
all right. The story keeps going. The titles are included in Netflix subscription, and there'll be no advertising or additional purchases required.
Yeah.
The streaming company has targeted video games as its next big thing. It's an industry that's larger than the movie and TV businesses. Players logging in will see a dedicated games row and tab where they can choose which titles to play. Games for Apple iPhones are also planned. The initial offering includes titles linked to Netflix shows such as Stranger Things 1984 and Stranger Things 3. The game also included are Shooting Hoops, Card Blast, and Teeter Up. You familiar with any of these?
I'm not familiar with them,
Okay.
but
All right.
they're not real games. I mean, they're like pseudo games.
But they're getting the industry to talk about Netflix and getting us to talk about Netflix. Interesting.
Speaking of cryptocurrency, I forgot I had this bookmarked, but I didn't get to it.
Yeah.
You've probably heard of that Netflix show Squid Game, very popular.
No.
Well, you probably haven't heard of it, but most people have. So somebody created a Squid Game cryptocurrency
Okay.
based off of the show. It was known as a play as you earn cryptocurrency. So they got a whole bunch of people to buy into this. And then the developers of the cryptocurrency took all of the money and left, making out with estimated $3.38 million.
Damn.
So the price was about $3,000 earlier this week. It has dipped to less than 1 cent. A 99% fall cents. And this is another reason talking about the whole cryptocurrency market as a whole. It's just weird.
All right. There's been a few of, what do you call them? Those companies that took the money and left. Not wallet. What do you call them? Exchanges.
Yeah. There was one a couple. Yeah, Silk Road, not Silk Road.
There are a few of them.
Yeah, there was that big one. That big one where people were doing a lot of what's it called? Something Mountain, Swiss Mountain, or something like that. And
Yeah.
they just dipped with everything.
Yeah. And talk about cryptocurrency. The FBI warns the public of fraudulent schemes leveraging cryptocurrency ATMs and quick response QR codes to facilitate payments. The FBI has seen an increase in scammers directing victims to use physical cryptocurrency ATMs and digital QR codes to complete payment transactions. I read into this. I couldn't understand what they mean about it, but if anybody wants to see it, I mean, the FBI actually put out a bulletin out there. Just go to the FBI site and read for yourself. Be careful. I mean, it's with everything else. Just be careful.
Well, it's the same thing that we were talking about yesterday with the QR code scams.
Yeah. Well,
Very
okay.
similar thing.
So that's all right.
It's an equivalent. You're masking something and using it to take advantage of people.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned LinkedIn.
Yeah. What about it?
So LinkedIn is rolling out a new platform for freelancers to help it better compete against the likes of Fiverr and Upwork.
That's a great idea. What are Fiverr and Upwork? Because I know you've used both of those sites before.
Networks of freelancers that you can get work done. The people that are on it, that subscribe to it, to work there, actually kind of get into a fight. Hey, I'll do it for $5. No, I'll do it for $4.50. No, I'll do it for $4, and you get the best price. Today, it is taking the wraps of its service marketplace. That's what they call it, service marketplace. A new feature that will let people advertise themselves for short-term engagement to those looking to hire people for such roles, competing against the likes of Fiverr and Upwork for sourcing skilled knowledge workers. The launch of its freelancer platform is coming alongside a few other key updates from LinkedIn around other job hunting tools, underscoring how the company is looking to adapt a new currents to adapt to new currents in the job market and how we work. They include new search filters to find jobs, permanent jobs that is, that are remote, hybrid, or on-site. And these can also now be indicated on your open to work indicator if you have that turned on to invite recruiters to contact. Alongside this, you can now also check out companies' vaccination requirements as part of how you evaluate jobs if the employer has indicated those details itself. So they're getting to be they're providing you more services, and there's a lot of professionals on LinkedIn, and that's like you said, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
You have
I'm surprised they didn't do this.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay, great. Fiverr and Upwork have been around for years.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say Fiverr came out in what? Like,
Probably
I'm gonna
over
look it up.
10, over 10.
2012, 2013. I mean, Fiverr's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
2010. 11 years. And it really popped off in 13, 12, 13, 14. I'm surprised it's taken LinkedIn this long because there's a lot of money being made on Fiverr. It's a publicly traded company.
Yeah, and the website, the company is taking a cut of whatever. So if somebody's telling you, I'll do that app for $50, I mean, it's going to take them at least an hour. Some of that money is going to go to the company. So they don't make a lot of money, but it's better than nothing.
Well, they do make a lot of money. It's the same thing as wait, who are you talking about?
I'm
The end users?
I'm talking about the actual providers, not the company.
It's one of these situations where you need to do a whole bunch of work.
Yeah.
And that's
okay.
It's one of those services where the margins are very small, the margins are little, but you do like for example, MasterCard and Visa, they don't make a whole lot of money per transaction.
Right.
But you do millions of transactions a day and you make billions of dollars. It's the same notion with that the people that do Fiverr and things like that, they do it full time and they are just constantly pumping things out because that's how you make money.
Yeah.
By just doing so many.
It's very, very interesting concept, and it works obviously because they've been in business for so long.
Did you know that Fiverr is an Israeli company?
No, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Their headquarters are in Tel Aviv. Fiverr is an Israeli online marketplace for freelance services. I had no idea.
I didn't have an idea about that either. Interesting. Yeah, and the other one
founded by a former Israeli Olympic guy and some other guy. A couple of Israeli guys. Yeah, interesting. I had no idea.
Huh. Not that it makes it any better or worse, but I mean, it's interesting.
No, I've used Fiverr and I just assumed it was a Silicon Valley, San Francisco company. I had no idea they were headquartered. No idea they were headquartered and founded in Tel Aviv. That's interesting.
Yeah, I used both of them. What is the other one? Is WeWork
Upwork.
Or something like that?
Upwork.
Yeah, but what's WeWork?
I
thought there was also
there's probably a whole bunch. Don't you remember Google had one of these services for a period? It's called Google Help Out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
our friend Mike was in it. Was doing it.
And it was a similar kind of concept, except this was more training and things of that nature. And it was another one of the, it just didn't really do a whole lot.
There is really no type of work, computer-wise, obviously. Well, I don't know. There may be some other stuff that you can get done there that you cannot find. I mean, you go and you search and you have all these people and you can see the ratings and past experience and all, and you find somebody that that can do your job, your thing for you.
Yeah, it's a very interesting marketplace.
Yep. All right, so Apple so far has avoided the worst outcome of its U.S. legal battle with Epic Games, but its antitrust woes remain. The information is in the last several months, the U.S. Department of Justice has accelerated its 2-year-old antitrust probe of the iPhone maker, according to 2 people with knowledge of the investigation, increasing the likelihood of a lawsuit. Since summer, there has been a flurry of activity on the investigation as DOJ lawyers have asked Apple and its customers and competitors questions about how the company maintains its strict control over the iPhone. That includes a new round of subpoenas sent to Apple business partners over the summer. So it looks like the DOJ is still investigating Apple and they may get sued by the government. Just like
Who,
Microsoft, Apple, just like
Yeah.
Microsoft had the problem back in the 90s.
For some reason, I just don't. I hope. I don't hope. I should say, if in fact, I think you could make the argument that Apple is a monopoly. I just am not sure that the government has the balls to break them up.
Yeah.
Frankly,
Especially not this government.
well, yeah, definitely not this government at all. I'm not sure that they.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they can do it.
And this is interesting talking about Apple. A tweak to the iPhone's repairability that has been long prophesized and feared has finally come to pass, giving staggering new urgency for legislation that makes repair more accessible. The iPhone 13s screen cannot be replaced without special software controlled by Apple.
Right.
This is a devastating blow to independent repair shops who make the vast majority of their money doing screen replacement, and specifically make the vast majority of their money doing iPhone screen replacement. This is according to iFixit. Replacing the screen on an iPhone 13 disables Face ID functionality. That's because the screen itself is paired to a small microcontroller attached to the display. Replacing a cracked screen with a new screen will disable this pairing, thus breaking a core piece of functionality in the phone. An authorized Apple repair tech can pair a new screen to an iPhone with the click of a few buttons using proprietary Apple technology. Everyone else will have a much harder time. It is still possible, they say, to change a screen on an iPhone 13. That information is from motherboard. The difference is that in order to do so now, this microcontroller needs to be removed from the broken screen and resoldered into the new screen after the existing microcontroller on that screen is removed. Doing this requires microsoldering, which requires the use of a microscope and highly skilled technician. So you can't just go to you break, we fix, whatever, and expect them to do something like this. There may be a few of them who would have it, but this is, I believe that this was done just in order to stop those places from repairing an iPhone screen. I don't see any other reason why.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the iPhone 13 because it came out this week that Steve Wozniak was asked about the iPhone 13 and he said, quote, "I got the new iPhone. I can't tell the difference, really. The software that's in it applies to older iPhones, I presume. I worry about the largeness and size, but I didn't study it. I'm just into if the products are good." Meaning that he just doesn't see a whole hell of a lot of difference between the last generation and the 13. And he's probably right.
Interesting.
And I still am rocking my iPhone 8. 5 years later, I'm going all in.
I wonder what Mr. Cook has to say about that.
You mean Mr. Apple?
Mr. Apple.
Yeah. That's Tim Apple.
You were talking about the difference, the not much difference between Windows 11 and Windows 10, or the looks.
Yeah.
Do you still use Plex?
Oh God, yeah.
and you use it for live TV.
Live TV,
I
pre-recorded TV.
cannot stand the new update.
I don't know what is it?
Well, when you're on the guide,
Mhm.
you're watching a channel. Now
Mhm.
you want to see what else is there. You hit the up arrow, and it goes into the guide, and you can go up and down, and you get to where you want, and you click enter, and you're on that channel. Now you have to do about 3 or 4 presses before you get to that point. You have to use that upper left button, the one that goes left. The up arrow does nothing.
Okay, so you just change the up arrow and you use the back button instead, and you get
No,
right
but
to the
it's
guide.
not. No, but it's not like that. You have to hit that left arrow.
Well, I'm checking right now because I haven't noticed any
Yeah,
issue.
the left arrow takes you back up, and then there's something else there that's hide my channels or show or something like that. It's. I'm sure we'll get
You're using
used
this
to
on
it.
a Roku. You're using this on
Yeah.
a Roku.
Yeah. It is. I really don't understand. I don't understand why they have to change. I mean, I went when it happened, when I realized that, I went and I rebooted the Roku, I rebooted the home run, I rebooted the Switch, I rebooted the Flex server, saying something
See, I pressed the back arrow right here.
on the upper left,
The
blue one.
that back arrow.
Yeah.
Well, it's not blue on mine, but and the channel's still playing in the background, and I'm right back to the program guide.
Yeah. And now go down. Let me see you go to another channel. See, you have to press.
Yeah, I clicked OK, and it just went right to it.
No, but if you click the button to go to the guide, right?
Yeah.
And now go to another channel.
I clicked down 3 times and went to another channel.
You did? I don't know. It seems like there's something there.
I don't know. You said 3 or 4 steps. It's exactly the same. They just changed the button. Instead of the left button, it's the back button. It's exactly the same, at least on both of my TVs.
Okay, then I need to check and see if something else, because I cannot get to it. I mean, it is just maybe just because I'm not used to it.
Yeah, it's just one. The button is just different, but it's still one button gets you back to the guide, and then you go up and down on the guide, and then press the OK button to go to your next channel.
All right, I'll try it, because there's also those. If you look right above the guide, there are two links, so to speak. One says show, one says hide channels, and one say my channel. And if it's on one or the other, that doesn't work. Anyway, or talking about when they change things, and I'm looking and I'm saying, why did they do it? What difference did that make?
Well, but here's the thing: it's important to know.
Yeah.
That is a Plex upgrade, not on the server, but a Plex upgrade on the Roku.
Right. Understood.
So if you were using it on a different device, it might act differently.
That's correct.
So it is still a Plex update, because Plex obviously maintains and manages their Roku app, but it's not the
you can't blame Plex.
It's not a server. It's not a server. Well, you can blame Plex, but it wasn't a server upgrade that changed it. It was an app update.
It was an app. It's a Roku app. Yeah.
On that note, I will be back in about 2 minutes.
All right. And I thought that back when we had the problem with the pipeline and all that, the U.S. government, that we found out who did it. Now, the U.S. government wants to find the people responsible for the Colonial Pipeline ransom attack and many others. And it's putting up multi-million rewards for data on the operators behind the dark side extortion campaign. So get your horses ready, and you want to go and be a bounty hunter. The Department of State on Thursday offered up to $10 million for information leading to the identification or location of senior members of the dark side gang that caused major gas disruptions earlier this year. In addition, the U.S. State Department is offering a reward up to $5 million for information leading to the arrest and or conviction in any country of any individual conspiring to participate in or attempting to participate in a dark side variant ransomware incident. In offering this reward, the United States demonstrates its commitment to protecting ransomware victims around the world from exploitation by cyber criminals. That's what they said. The United States looks to nations who harbor ransomware criminals that are willing to bring justice for those victim businesses and organizations affected by ransomware. So we know that they are in Russia. We know that they are in Iran. They're in many countries. They keep on operating. There is no reason why the government of a given country could not stop them if they put some effort into it, that is. In the meantime, a lot of companies are suffering, but you can also look at it as, okay, now we learn something and everybody learns from it. I'm not, of course, the blame is on the hackers, but the blame should also be on the companies who did not want or did not do their homework to protect their networks against that, who did not do enough to protect against that. But there is no reason why a government could not actually get these guys and put them out of business. The U.S. cannot go in other countries and do that. We say we can, and I'm sure that we can, but it's not supposed to happen. If it'll be done, then it will be a undercover thing, illegal thing, to go in and do that. So it's just, I don't know. I want to say that and I hope that companies are learning from other companies' misfortune. I know that I can tell you with Delta Force, a lot of things were put into place because of things like that. And luckily, I don't have to deal with 1,000 employees, and one of them is naive enough to believe an email or a phone call that causes or allows somebody to get into the network. But I still worry about it. With all that stuff, there's always new ways of doing that. And those guys are relentless. The only saving grace is, what are they going to do if they break into Delta? They're not going to get much. So, I mean, you were dealing with a lot of technology companies when you were doing the support.
Mhm.
Did companies actually ask you guys to fortify their network to do?
No, that was part of what that is part of what we did.
I understand, but did companies ask you that, or did you have to bring it up and say, you should do that? You remember? I mean, I want to see companies going and finding somebody and say,
Well,
look, fix my
well, here's the
vulnerability.
thing.
Yeah,
When you hire a man, which is what we were a managed service provider.
right.
When you hire a managed service provider, you're hiring them because you have no IT experience internally. So the kind of our big slogan was, we're your technology partner. And the whole thing was, we are going to recommend you.
Okay.
We're going to recommend you things based off of our best practices and what we know. Most of the time, the whoever's in charge of there is a spot person that's normally in charge of IT. They're not in charge of it, but they're in charge of working with the IT vendor and things of that nature. It could be a business manager or something else. They don't know what the hell a network fortification means, but you go out and you find a technology vendor and you hope that they would recommend it. And that's very much what we did. We were very big on fortification, password change requirements, things of that nature.
Let me ask you in another way. Did you ever hear about some company, and the whoever is calling the shots said, no, we don't want to spend money on
100%. All the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's every business is like that. Every business is like this. I think we're probably a little bit more sensitive to it because we're all kind of techie, nerdy people, and we understand it. But every business makes compromises. I mean, every business makes compromises and doesn't probably invest as much as they should in certain pieces of technology or other things. It's, we understand it from a technology side because that's what we're in. But I'm sure they're not investing as much as they should into for things like on-site security systems, cameras, things of that nature. Probably the same thing. That's not necessarily IT. But
no, it's not IT. It's bad practices of businesses.
But I don't necessarily think you call it bad practices. It's the old thing we talked about with security, right? Use a password manager and use two-factor authentication. It all comes down to trade-offs. Yes, everybody should be using two-factor authentication. Everybody should be using a password manager. But the trade-off is not always there. And some people are not willing to make that trade-off for whatever reason.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is wrong.
Well, of course it's
especially
wrong. But it's been wrong for years.
Yeah, but you see what's going on around you. I mean,
but it's not me.
Don't walk in the middle of the street because you may get hit by a car. Nah. Well, people get hit and get killed and get hit, and you should say, well, maybe I shouldn't walk down the street like that. That's my point here. And it's just a shame that companies are not doing. Oh, look at that.
I'm sitting here crying. I pick her up and she doesn't want to be. Oh.
Oh, look at that. Sweet.
No, but it's trade-off. You make trade-off in business, you make trade-off in your personal life, and not until the only problem with it on the technology front is if you get hit with something and it's too dramatic, it's too big of an attack, it could literally put you out of business.
Yep.
So,
yeah, not every company can recover from stuff like that.
No, and the other thing and I think you'll likely see a change in this over the next 20 years or so as people of my generation, 20 years I'll be, let's just say 45. At that point, when you've got people that grew up in the internet, grew up in the technology era, making decisions at companies, you'll probably see less of this. But right now, if you've got guys in their, you've got management and decision makers in their 60s, they might not fully grasp and understand the importance of this stuff. That will go away over time.
Well, hopefully.
It will.
Hopefully.
It will. You've got a generation that's coming up that will, at one point, if they're not too lazy to get out of their house and actually work, you'll have a group of people making decisions for a company that understand technology and understand the risks and the pros and the cons of doing certain things or not. So I think this problem will eventually weed itself out.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Zoom. Zoom is piloting showing ads to users on its free basic tier. The company,
tisk.
The company is announced in a blog post. Ads will appear on the browser page shown to users at the end of a call.
Well, that's not a problem.
Zoom says ads are being rolled out to free users in certain countries, though its blog post doesn't detail exactly which these are. Users on the service's basic tier will only see ads if they join a meeting hosted by another basic tier user. Although ads won't be shown during meetings themselves, it's still a potential big shift for the video conferencing service. Zoom has typically imposed only minor restrictions on its free tier, which helped the service explode in popularity last year as people around the world adapted to working and socializing from home. Even its end-to-end encryption, which Zoom initially said would be limited to paid users, ended up coming to free users after all. So, first of all, you can't blame them. I mean, it's probably going to be ad for them. I don't know. I guess other companies could buy ads, but as long as they're not doing it during the actual meeting, I'm with you. It's not that bad, and you can expect that. And remember, it's only when everything is on the free tier. So you host a meeting and you have the free. Nobody on the meeting is a paid subscriber. Let's put it this way. So don't worry if you're with the company and you have meetings, the company is probably paying for it. So nothing is going to happen at that. Let's see what else we have. Oh yeah, so I was talking about telling you not to update. Mac OS Monterey, released last week as the latest version of Mac OS, is bricking older Mac computers, rendering them unusable and unable to even turn on, according to a number of reports from users across social media and online forums. If this sounds oddly familiar, it may be because last year, with the launch of macOS Big Sur, similar reports surfaced about that update bricking older MacBooks Pro model. Less than a year later, similar issues are now seemingly taking place once again. At least 10 separate posts on Apple support communities contain users complaining that as they were attempting to update their Mac to macOS Monterey, the Mac went completely black and they are unable to turn it on. One post in specific includes several comments from users also reporting similar issues. Reports on Twitter are also plentiful. Now, they found out later on that it has to do with their T2 security chip. Something went astray there, and they did issue a fix. So the advice that I was reading there is you have to, which I don't understand why they say you have to install the update first and then apply the fix. But if you install the update and your computer is bricked, how can you
Whoopsie.
install? Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand that. You can't even turn it on. Apparently, I mean, if you use a Mac, maybe you know what you're doing and there are other ways to get in, but it's a problem. So hopefully it will be, they'll issue a complete update, upgrade with the correct, that includes that patch. So your computer will not brick itself. That's what happened. Let's see. I think there's another interesting story. You never thought that you would associate that with Microsoft. A year after releasing the first preview build of its Chromium-based Edge browser for Linux,
Mhm.
Microsoft is announcing its general availability.
Nice.
The new release supports a variety of Linux distributions, including Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora, and OpenSUSE. Microsoft announced Linux on Edge availability milestone during the first day of its Ignite IT Pro conference. As of the release of Edge for Linux to the stable mainstream user channel, Edge is now available on Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and Linux. As it did when introducing the new Edge on macOS, Microsoft has been positioning Edge on Linux as more of an offering for IT professionals and developers who want to test websites than as a browser for normal users on those platforms. However, any user on any supported platform can use the new Edge. Why they are offering it for IT professionals and developers, I don't know. I mean, if it's a browser, it's a browser.
Yeah, but on the you're talking about on the Linux side?
Yeah.
Well, because most people aren't using Linux anyway. So your IT professionals and those are the only groups that are going to be using that anyway.
Well, I mean, slowly, Linux is becoming more and more and more maybe easier to use on the desktop as a replacement for Windows for people. Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
Yes,
When you
but
say slowly,
yeah,
I mean, you're talking about like a
slowly.
slug trying to cross the
Yeah.
6-lane highway.
True. It's not something that you want to dive into because it's not like updating your Windows to the latest version.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it's a bunch more work. Anyway, I'm done with stories.
I've got a couple things.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here. Let me pull back up all my tabs here. Did we cover the whole Elon Musk thing last week?
What all of Elon? You mean with the new satellites?
No, not the new satellites. Somebody was going after. It's a little bit political, but it's kind of relevant because that's what Elon Musk does. His net worth is
a lot.
Yeah, his net worth is. Let's see if I can find it. His net worth is about $6 billion.
Okay.
That's his net worth. And some guy and there was a big UN climate change thing that happened this past week.
Okay.
So, and one of the people from the climate change thing said, somebody like Elon Musk could solve world hunger with, a very small amount of their money. So Elon Musk clapped back and said, "Hey, I will be willing." Excuse me. His net worth is $200 billion.
Okay.
He clapped back and said, "Hey, if you can show me how exactly you're going to spend my money, I will write you a check for $6 billion, which would be about 10% of Tesla's share." And since then, the UN World Food Program has not come out with anything. After they told CNN that it's time for the ultra wealthy to step up now on a one-time basis to help 42 million people that are literally going to die if they don't get food. So he put out on Twitter and said, "Hey, I'll give you $6 billion, which is 2% of my net worth, if you can tell me exactly how those donations would solve world hunger. I'll sell the stock right now." And there's been nothing.
And he would have. I'm sure he would.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not to get hyper political with it, but, we talk a lot about these big companies with these net worth and with all these people. And, here's somebody who's willing to put a copious amount of money on the line for a world hunger program, and the United Nations can't even tell him what they would do with that money and how it would actually solve world hunger. Pretty hysterical.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I wonder if he'll come up with, if somebody will come up, maybe somebody not from the UN will come up. Maybe
no, they won't, because you can't give $6 billion to a group like the UN that's rampant with bureaucracy and have them actually use the money to solve the problem. That's precisely that's precisely the point that he was kind of making. Give me an actual accounting and numbers of how you would spend this money, what you would do with this money, and I will write you a check and solve your problem. But we know damn well that if he wrote the United Nations food, whatever the hell, a $6 billion check, we would still have millions of people going hungry and nothing would get done.
It's an interesting conversation going on in the chat.
Well, and anyone tried SC, as I asked a question earlier, I asked a question back and they didn't respond, so I'm not, whatever.
Okay.
Look at my cat walking behind me. Isn't that great? Isn't that phenomenal? Right. Just walk on the desk. No problem.
Yeah. It's trying to program something.
Yeah. Right.
All right. If you don't have anything anymore and nobody in the chat wants to bring up anything, let's end this.
Okay, doke.
All right. Well, Nick, thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It was fun. You're welcome. So, good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Dana, Dina, Arlington, Micha, Eleanor, Sarid. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Now, again, remember, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., Nick is on WAAV in Wilmington, 980 The Wave. And I cannot remember the call letters or the frequency of the FM, Nick.
107.9 FM.
107.9 FM.
But just download the podcast.
Yeah, you can always later on, but you can also go to your Echo and tell it to play 980 The Wave and listen to it live and interact if you want to.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Calls.
And Tuesdays, 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the Infection podcast. That's for survival games on Twitch. So just go to twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. No spaces. Tuesday evenings at 7. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.